Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller, and I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here. "14 degrees, cold air in my lungs, bright sun, deep, deep, cloudless blue sky, and some snow sparkling like it was definitely alive. It was beautiful, and it was perfect. I stepped outside this morning on a 14-degree morning when the sun was out and the sun was bright, and because it's, late February and almost March, the sun is pretty high in the sky, which some people are going to say, well, that sounds silly. The sun's always high in the sky, but this time of year, the sun gets higher in the sky. It shifts a little higher up, a little further to the north if you're looking at the axis, and it's getting a little higher during the day. It's out a little longer, so the sunlight this time of year is actually warmer where we live, and it helps warm up the winter. And the really beautiful thing about this is when you step outside now, it feels warmer, even though the air temperature may still say 14 degrees. The sun warms it up a whole lot. And when I walked outside this morning, I felt that. I felt warm. And not just temperature warm from the sun, not just, hey, the sunshine feels super nice on my face and on my back when I walked outside. I felt warm inside because I realized something, and I've known this for a long time, but it was really apparent this morning. Walking outside shifted my mood this morning, and overall shifts my mood drastically and immediately. It can be rain, sun, snow. It doesn't matter. As soon as I step outside and get physically out of doors, it makes me feel more grounded. And this morning, it wasn't a comfort thing. It wasn't a convenience. It was kind of like a clarity. And it was my ability to see that being outside really makes it feel easier to breathe. It makes it feel easier to think and make decisions. And when all those things happen and line up, it really can start your day off kind of on the right foot. I recently had a conversation with a very good friend of mine who has fantastic perspective on like everything in the world, and was talking about how much I enjoy quiet mornings. And added to that this morning was quiet mornings being outside when nobody else was awake. And the sun was up and the world was coming alive, and the outside world, the birds and all the outside little critters that live, in my yard were coming awake. And I value that so much. And I think, standing outside this morning, it kind of hit me that everybody has something that does this for them. Everybody has something that grounds them, and everybody has something that makes them feel like it's a little easier to breathe and like the weight on their shoulders is a little lighter and a little less. And I think, and this is just my opinion, but I think it's really important for everybody to try to figure out what it is that makes them feel grounded. And I think everybody has that blue sky moment, we'll call, like when I walked outside, I was like, God, it's so nice out here. And it does this in every season we have. Summer, spring, winter, fall, doesn't matter the season. I am hugely affected by the weather. And when the weather is nice, specifically, it's not like I don't get like super sad on nice day or on bad days when it's cloudy or rainy. I don't mean that. But when the weather is nice and it is sunny and like it's just beautiful outside, my whole demeanor changes for the better. I go from like, I'm usually a pretty happy person. Like my baseline is usually pretty happy. I go from happy to like really happy or almost excited and, maybe even giddy. And I think everybody has this. For some, it's being outside. For some people, it's music. For some people, it's the gym. For some people, it's sitting quietly with coffee before the house wakes up. For some people, it's prayer. For some people, it's the barn or their workshop. For some people, it's the firehouse. I know a lot of guys who love the firehouse when nobody else is around because they can get productive and really kind of go through their stuff. Maybe it's the tennis court. Maybe it's the track. Maybe it's the road you run on that's deserted in the morning. All kinds of things, right? I think everybody has this thing that makes them feel grounded. And I think it's a universal need. I think it's really important for people to do this because it can drastically change your mindset and your outlook on the day and just set you up for success, so to speak. I think if you live anywhere where the weather drones on in any way, whether it's hot or cold or snow or, cloudy, whatever it is, if you've been stuck in that word like, oh my God, is this ever going to change? And if you live anywhere near New England this year, this winter, we've been going through it, right? It snows all the time. Some people are like, oh my God, I just need green grass. Please, please, please let this go away. I'm done with winter. I'm done with snow. Like, I hate this life. I want to go away. And in that case, my reminder is you don't need a new life. You just need a place or maybe a practice that reminds you who you are and all the things you have to be happy about inside the life you already have. So when you find this place or this activity or this action that lets you feel grounded, a few things happen, right? It slows the noise down. It helps clear the mental clutter. It kind of lowers your emotional volume, so to speak. If you ever had one of those days where like, oh my God, everything feels and sounds so loud even though no one's talking? Like, I think it can really lower that volume for you. And, grounding isn't about finding an escape, I don't think. I think it's about finding maybe a recalibration, a way to set your compass back to true north, to figure out what your zero balance is and reset the scale, so to speak. And I think that's really important because if you don't do this for yourself, I think the world's going to find a way to ground you, right? And not in the good way, the other kind of grounding. Or stress is going to find a way to ground you. Or the emails that keep piling up are going to ground you. Or the notifications for messages and emails and texts and all that kind of stuff for all the things and commitments and obligations in your life are going to ground you. And they're going to push you right over to the brink and you're going to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Because I think if you don't find or you don't choose the things that steady you and kind of balance you out, I think the world's going to figure out what shakes you and really what kind of will shake you up and bring you to this place where you really don't feel all that great. And even if you're not a morning person, in the morning at the quote-unquote beginning of your day, I think is a really great time to do this. Because I think mornings really in the way you start your day. And again, if you're not a morning person like who's up at 5 a.m., that's okay. Whenever your morning starts, you can start with this. But I think if you start grounded, it kind of can change your tone and change your patience and change your decisions and kind of just help how you respond instead of react. I have an episode talking about the power of controlled reactions when we can't control the things that happen to us in our lives, but we can definitely control how we respond to them. And that can control how you feel and how that manifests itself in you physically and emotionally and physiologically. Because, I think everybody has something that they know will make them feel better. And everybody also has something that they know will make them feel worse and make them feel like, oh, if this happens during the day, that's it. This is my threshold. If that goes wrong, it's over. I'm going to be so upset and so angry. So if you can control how you respond, if you can control and change your decisions and kind of set yourself up for a positive day with this grounding in the morning, I think it's a really great thing to do. And in terms of burnout, because you guys know I speak about burnout and personal wellness and putting your best foot forward and that kind of stuff, burnout doesn't always start with collapse. A lot of times it starts with disconnection. You start feeling disconnected from the things you once loved. You start feeling disconnected from the people you used to communicate with really easily and really readily. And these disconnects build and build and build. And then all of a sudden, burnout creeps in and begins and piles up when we drift too far from the things that anchor us. And when that disconnect happens, we start to drift and we're like, oh, well, we're no longer tethered to the things that make us feel grounded and happy. And now we're drifting away from all those things. And now the anchors in our life have gone away, and Lord knows where we're going to end up, because we're going down this road of feeling overwhelmed. And I think we can't cut that out altogether, like with the snap of your fingers and all at once, if that's the way you're feeling. But you can definitely find yourself some ways to put this into practice and get yourself kind of headed down a better path. And one of the ways to do this is ask yourself some reflective questions. Ask yourself, when do I feel the most clear? When I step outside, immediately it's easier for me to think. It's easier for me to breathe. It's easier for me to focus. It's like the walls just have all these distractions built into them, hiding behind the sheetrock that are bouncing through and penetrating into my brain and making me think about them all at once. And as soon as I get outside, all that goes away because it can't get to me. And I think everybody has something that does this. So ask yourself, when do I feel the most clear? When do I feel like I can breathe deeply, when it's easier to breathe? When do I feel the least rushed? When do I feel the most When do I feel the most like myself? That's a great question to ask, because I think when we are happiest is when we are being our true selves and pursuing the things that we love and the things we know make us feel happy and fulfilled. So when do you feel most like yourself? And, when do you lose track of time in a healthy way, in a good way? When do you get so wrapped up in something that you're like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I don't even care what time it is. I just want to keep doing this. Those are the type of things that you can gravitate towards to make you feel that grounded in the morning and that kind of recalibration and reset. And you can experiment with this. I want to encourage you to just remember that you don't have to all of a sudden be like, oh, I found it. I thought of it. It came to my brain. Yep, first thing on the list. I absolutely got it. I rock. I don't have to keep looking, right? We can do some experimentation. I don't think you necessarily discover your grounding moment or your grounding area or your grounding practice right away. You kind of have to test it. So you can do little experiments. Try 5 minutes outside. If it doesn't work, you're like, maybe outside's not my thing. Try a short walk. Try being quiet and literally sitting in the silence before scrolling. I have another episode about the importance of silence too, which is really, really incredible, right? Set your phone down. Don't look at it for the first half hour of your day. See how it makes you feel. You can try journaling. Maybe that gets your thoughts out and puts them in order and kind of gets rid of that mental clutter. You can try sitting in your vehicle for 2 minutes before you go in the house or before you start your day, or if you're before you're going to leave for work and have to start your commute, try sitting there in the quiet for a couple minutes. All these kind of things you can kind of experiment with and figure out what it is that makes you feel that really nice grounded feeling. And this is also a reminder to start small. You're not searching for a retreat, right? You're not searching for a place to spend 14 days and hide in the mountains and not let anybody bother you, although that sounds fantastic. Please sign me up. If anybody has a mountain cabin they'd like to let me use, you let me know. I'll let you know when I want to go there, and we'll work something out. I'll pay you in maple syrup and hay bales or something, but let's go because I want to go. Cabin in the mountains, yes, please, forever. But, you're not searching for a retreat. You're kind of searching for a reset, for a way to start your day a little bit more grounded, a little bit more focused, a little bit more clear on what you want to get out of the day. And also, this is your reminder, it doesn't have to be dramatic, right? Your quote-unquote blue sky moment, as I put it before, it might be the feeling the sun on your face. It might be the smell of the morning when you wake up. I just mentioned paying somebody in hay bales. The smell of fresh cut hay, like when I go to the farm the next morning after I've recently cut a hay field, I can't even tell you what that does for my nervous system. I love that smell. And being outside in the early morning with some dew on the grass and a beautiful day, because when we cut hay, I try to do it when it's nice out, hoping it doesn't get rained on. But that smell of that fresh cut grass, that not like mowing your lawn. Mowing your lawn and cutting hay smell drastically different. But that smell of the fresh cut hay, right, that just, does something to me. It just really, really does. Maybe it's coffee steam in the ice cold air some mornings for you, right? Maybe it's the silence before the chaos of your house erupts in the morning. They don't have to be dramatic. They can be little things like that, right? Little practical things that it can happen, any given day. So remember and remind yourself that it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be a pretty simple thing that can help you feel grounded and start your day off on the right foot. And also, I think my other encouragement here is don't resist this. I had a great conversation again, I was talking about earlier, the conversation I had about starting my morning quietly and not giving up that time. Don't resist the things that you want to try to make yourself feel grounded. Don't say things like, I don't have time, or it's too cold, or I'll do it later, or that's not productive, or I'll do it another day, or maybe next week, or all the things that we tell ourselves to make excuses because we think we have to get back to the busy, so to speak. Take the time to do it. Right? It doesn't have to be 3 hours. It can be 5 minutes. I went outside this morning probably for 5 or 6 minutes. It started my whole day off on a fantastic note, on the best foot I could, right? And because I think productivity is enhanced by this grounding that we can do in the morning. And when you tell yourself something like, I don't want to do that because it's not productive if I'm taking time to sit and do nothing, it's in the long run very productive because it can set you up to have a productive day, to have more energy, to have more focus, to keep right on going and all that kind of stuff, right? Because I think grounding and finding a way to do this for yourself in the morning can kind of act like some fuel, right? 5 intentional minutes can change the next 5 hours. Hands down. Hands down. I went outside this morning at like 5, I don't know what time it was, 6 o'clock in the morning maybe a little bit before or after. And from then on, like it just carries you, that positive energy, that grounding, that focus will carry you through however long you need it to carry you through. And it's a beautiful thing to do. And like if you think of an athlete, athletes warm up, right? Athletes have rituals. Athletes have things to warm them up, to give them a way to say, hey, here's how I'm going to put my best foot forward. And if we're talking about running athletes, every pun intended, dad jokes, welcome, but all that kind of fun stuff, right? In the world of the fire service, we do what we call a size up, right? We walk around the entire building. We get dispatched to a fire. We show up and there's a little bit of smoke coming out the front window. We don't just say, hey, that must be the only fire. We do a size up in a complete 360 of the building. Take a look, take that grounding moment to figure out what you're actually working with and what you actually have to tackle and what is in front of you to overcome. And pilots do this too when they go to fly. They don't just jump in the airplane and throw the throttle forward and hope for the best, right? They have a checklist. All this stuff they do, they take a minute, they sit there, they look around, they take in what's around them, and they figure out what's going on around them. They figure out what's on their checklist. They make sure they go through all those things, and then they can prepare for it, right? You don't have to start your day, ice cold, so to speak, like I did with a cold morning this morning, but you can definitely start it out, even if it is cold, with a little bit of preparation, and I think that goes a long way. And the deeper layer here is that this just isn't about just feeling good. It's kind of about a little bit, well, maybe a lot of it, about your identity. Because I think when you find these ways to ground yourself and to start with a quiet and kind of recalibrate yourself, you can remember your values. You can remember what's important to you. You can remember the things you wanted to focus on and work through. You can remember your priorities that you said, oh, I really want to prioritize X, Y, and Z. And then you got busy and forgot about it. And you can also remember your capacity, because sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, we're like, I don't have capacity for anything else to take on or to go wrong, or I'm at my max. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. But if you find this way to ground yourself, this grounding practice or principle, or these grounding few moments in your morning, the way you start forward, you can say, oh gosh, I was feeling so overwhelmed, but you know what? I stepped outside this morning, or I stepped on the tennis court, or I went and sat in my vehicle, whatever it is, and I had this moment of clarity, and I kind of reset my focus and reset my brain and recalibrated myself, and I realized it's really not that much on my plate. I had just built it all up because it sounded like a lot. I picked it apart one thing at a time. I set that focus up, and now I have capacity to do a lot more, and I already feel less overwhelmed. Because So this grounding, it doesn't make your problems disappear. I think it makes you stronger than the problems, so to speak. It doesn't all of a sudden just erase everything on your to-do list, obviously. You can't go sit in your car for 5 minutes and then be like, oh, look, there's nothing on my plate today. I don't have a job anymore. I don't have kid responsibilities. I don't have any laundry to do. It's great. I just took all that away, right? It doesn't make everything go away on the to-do list. But I think it makes you stronger than your problems, and it makes you more able to conquer those things, and it makes you stronger than your to-do list. Because, you have a certain number of things you can take on in any given day, right? We all have a capacity for the things we can do in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think when we have that moment to ground ourselves and refocus and recalibrate, we can better put into perspective and into focus what exactly we have piled up on our plate in front of us instead of what we feel like we have. I have another episode on, how sometimes we dread things and we think they're going to go terrible, and they actually end up going a lot better than we thought. I think we do that a lot. We do that a lot, I think. And, so as we close, I want to encourage you to take a little bit of action today. You know me, I'm all about your encouragement and taking some action. But, ask yourself today, what's your blue sky moment, right? What grounds you? And sit with this for a minute. Ask yourself the question and then sit with your thoughts until you find an answer. And again, you can do some experimentation and test this out to see what you're feeling and if you feel it or not, or if it works or not. And what will you step into this week that will kind of help you do that? Again, please don't make excuses. Please don't say, we can't do that, or I don't have time, or I don't have the energy, or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll put it off, or I have too many emails to answer. Like, remember, don't do that. Give yourself the permission to do this for yourself, to start your day off on a tremendously positive note and putting your best foot forward. And one of the other really important things I think about having these grounding moments is they can definitely change, and they definitely don't have to be single-focused and single-sided. It can be more than one thing that does this for you. And when you experiment and you figure out what this might be, you can also add to your tools to your toolbox, so to speak, of ways to find yourself grounded. The other morning, going outside might have helped me feel a little bit more grounded, but when it was 14 degrees and snowing 3 inches per hour during the blizzard we just had, I don't know that I would have felt the same kind of clarity. However, sitting silently inside next to my wood stove, looking outside at the snow, also does something very similar. It helps me regain that focus and regain that clarity and just sit with the quiet and breathe and be really deliberate about what I'm thinking about and where my thoughts are going, and kind of focus them and arrange them in a way that doesn't feel scattered and overwhelming and all that kind of stuff. So this week, what is your blue sky? Think about it. Test it out. Do some experiments and figure out what might make you feel grounded, and do that for yourself. Because we owe ourselves fantastic treatment, you guys. We owe ourselves good mornings. We owe ourselves days where we look positive and look at the day ahead and say, this is going to be a great day. We owe that to ourselves. And I think if you find the thing that lets you breathe deeply and you guard it like your peace depends on it, I think you can really unlock some new changes in your life and really unlock a way to have a great day and maybe a better day than you've had in a long while. And so, in my case this morning, I kind of said, you know what, let's go outside, even if it's 14 degrees. And actually this morning, especially if it's 14 degrees, because it is a beautiful day out there, and I know it's going to make me feel better to get out in that sunshine. My friends, no matter where you are listening today, or no matter where in the world you are or what time it is, I appreciate you are listening. I appreciate you following along, you downloading the episodes, you listening to the podcast, you following me on social media, and doing all the things. If you don't follow me on social media, go ahead and do that. I am at Todd W. Hiller on Instagram and TikTok. Please come find me. I promise I'm a lot of fun to be around. And also, if this has been an episode where you think might do some good for someone in your life who might be struggling with this, go ahead and click that share button and ship it off their way. Have a fantastic day, my friends. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I hope you find what grounds you. I hope you find a way to set your best foot forward and make yourself feel happy and productive as you move forward today and always. Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.